Hi guys, so it's Joe here at IO Associates, bringing the next installment of our defence series, which is our regular industry events aimed at businesses, individuals working in the defence and government world. Today I'm joined by James Morgan. James is co-founder and CEO of Logiq. We're going to be having a little look today around kind of military specific individuals and veterans, how we can do more as industry to support people that are coming out of military, James's personal experience of having that journey himself, and just sort of exploring those themes really. So I'll hand over to you, James. Thanks again for joining us. If you just want to give us a kind of quick whistle stop tour of your sort of background.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I started out from school going to university. I went to uni in Exeter. I did a 4 years mechanical engineering degree. And following that degree, I applied to a number of roles. And one of those was apply for a commission with the RAF. It was always my dream to go and service Typhoon aircraft, fast jets. I did a mechanical engineering degree with a view of going into maintaining the fast jet fleet for the Royal Air Force. Jengo, Sengo, had my career lined up at heavy engineering. Successfully was offered a commission, which was fantastic. And then during my basic training with the RAF, the branch officer came along and said, we don't have any IT communications engineers, and we've got 30 aerosystems engineers, and we're looking for volunteers to jump across. We'll provide you with all of your training. We'll provide you with everything you need. You'll get a new degree out of it, and you'll go off and do all of these sexy jobs with IT and cyber and communications and intelligence. And I sat there and I thought, well, I'm on a short service commission at the time. It was 6 years, likely to be extended to a full commission, but 6 year commission. In 6 years' time, how many people in the world are going to run fast jet squadrons, and how many people in the world need computers? So I kind of made that decision to jump across. I stayed in the RAF for 8 years, did a number of roles, had a fantastic start to my career. And I think we're going to go into a bit more detail about the responsibility and training you get in the military. And then I left after 8 years in 2016. And then I did some consultancy back into defense. And in 2017, founded Logiq with 3 other co-founders. And now 2025, we're around 170 heads and going from strength to strength. It's been a great journey.
Yeah, cool. And from your experience, sort of from your military time, what's the sort of the real kind of key aspects that you say have really shaped the way you've kind of gone through your career and you've really brought with you on that journey?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a mixture of the personality traits that people have inherently.
Yeah.
Those are drawn out and welcomed as you go through selection to go and join the military. So there's a bit of unconscious bias of the type of people that join the military in the first place that means they can then go. And then there's a bit about that learning and experiences you have with the military. And this goes across all of the services. I think fundamentally there's a bit about positivity. There's a bit about dealing with ambiguity.
Yeah.
And there's a really strong feeling of leadership. But in industry and in the military, it's not just leadership because you're told to lead. It's leadership as in being able to build teams, bring people together, and sometimes get people to do something they might not particularly want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's required for either the mission or the business or the broader outlook. So I think there's definitely so much honing of those skills as you enter the military with the personality type that people usually do. Go-getters, positivity, going to go and help problem solve. As an engineer, that's particularly what I thrive to do. Then you get honed in. This is how you experiencing building teams, experiencing giving problems, and then having to solve them with the resources at your disposal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's kind of one of the things, isn't it? Especially for people that spend a lot of time in the military, you learn so much, and there's, it's always changing, always learning, always growing. And, it's a lot, obviously there's a lot more people talking about it now, which is great, but actually how that transition out of the military, particularly for people that spend such a long portion of their life in the military, why that transition is really tricky. I appreciate, obviously, you offer quite a different perspective of that because you had a relatively short career compared to someone that's done 30 years service. But from your perspective, what was that transition like coming out?
Yeah, I think I went through the same emotional roller coaster that people that have stayed in a long time have. You go and you make the decision to leave the military, and my career, I purposefully pointed my career at cyber. There was an opportunity in the communications branch that I worked in. I did a role in IT. I started out in ground to air. So we did airfield comms, ground to air radio and radars and things. I then moved into IT, and I was then able to move into cyber. And I was manipulating my career path to go and do something I was passionate about. Obviously, a very highly skilled market out there. And when you make decisions to leave, you go and you start off by saying, I've had a great career. My OJARs or my SJARs have continually said that I'm in top X%. I've been nominated for promotion ahead of schedule. I've got all of these plaudits. I've been given a 3-star commendation. And this is in a environment where people are already selected to be excellent. And then you start putting your CVs out, and you fall into this trap of industry wanting people that have done exactly that job previously with success. And you get to a point where you're really frustrated because you haven't done exactly that job, A, because that job doesn't exist, or because you haven't realized how to convert the military terminology and the 3-letter acronyms and the military ranks into the equivalent job. It might be exactly the same, but you haven't been able to communicate it. And you get into this big bit of depression about saying, I'm not going to find anything, because what I want to put on my CV is I've been given 100 problems in my career, and I've gone and succeeded in every single one of them.
Yeah.
And my previous employer, being the Crown, has deemed me effective enough to throw me at all sorts of things.
Yes.
And particularly in the military, you're moving jobs. That might be a personnel focused job. It might be a training job. It might be a really technical job. It might be an operational job. And the skill that veterans have is that ability to go and adapt to the problem space. When you write that down on a CV, often, and it's getting a lot better now, often people look at it and go, well, you jumped around jobs quite a lot.
Yeah.
You go, well, I was in the military. That's the whole point. And then they say, yeah, but we're looking for this person. So actually we want a CV that says I did this thing here.
Yeah.
And then I did this thing again here. And then I did this thing again here. And that was the big journey that I went on to say, to come out of that dip where you're thinking, oh, I'm really unvaluable in the industry. I just should have stayed in the military, where people passionately reward that kind of behaviors, to then bounce out and try writing your CVs in a different way, or speaking to people face to face, or, and this is probably one of the key bits, is finding somebody that has that background.
Yes.
Either it's the hiring manager, or it's a company which have kind of made their awareness of the military more opaque or more obvious through things like the employment recognition scheme, that say, look, we get what you've done in the military. We understand how they move people around and put people in different situations. We love that. Come and talk to us about this challenge we've got and how you go to solving that.
Yeah, and I think that's all exactly the kind of the conversations that I have frequently with people that are either recently left or leaving, and it's just almost that complete cloud of, oh God, this is happening now, and I feel really like a deer in the headlights. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know, because a lot of people come out and don't necessarily know exactly what they want to do, because, like you say, the equivalent job is very different, and actually it's first and foremost, it's what do I want to do? What are my interests in here? And then what does that translate to? And then how do I articulate that in a way that's going to actually mean something to the person behind the screen looking at my CV? And I think that's the real tough part. And I think the work that a lot of businesses, yourselves included, and things like the ERS are doing at the moment to really encourage people to to take that leap and to support them through it, but actually to show businesses and support businesses to do better, because I think a lot of the time the problem isn't that businesses don't want to do better, it's that they don't know how. And I think actually things like the ERS are doing a really great job at supporting businesses that, perhaps don't have anyone in the business that really understands the military, but they want to help. And that's where the real disconnect's been. And obviously yourselves, you do various other bits and pieces, outside of just doing your silver covenant with ERS. So what would you kind of say as someone sort of leading a business? What do you do to support, and how could other businesses, support people that are coming out of that military career?
Yeah, so we do a number of things as part of our commitment to the employment recognition scheme, and we're building on that all the time. We're going for our gold recognition this year. Some of that is kind of pretty process-driven, transactional. We guarantee interviews to veteran leavers. We go and make sure we're present at like Armed Forces Specific Careers Fair.
Yeah.
Some of that is more soft. We do specific leadership training with our hiring leads and our team leads to explain to them, because we do have a lot of veterans and reservists as well, but we also have a lot of people that haven't been in defence previously.
Yeah.
So we try and raise awareness of what a typical career looks like for somebody in the military, and that doesn't have to be commissioned; that could be non-commissioned. But trying to get across the fact that people are moved around roles quite a lot. They have to deal with things that aren't quite as clear as they might like to be. They have to go and put service before self. So there's this inbuilt passion to go and do well. And we take people through why that is fantastic for the company.
Yeah.
And we try and make people look beyond. I know that you really want to solve this problem, and you want somebody that's solved it 10 times before with great success. But if you go into interviews with a mindset of, tell me about your ability to problem solve more generally, rather than have you installed this type of firewall in this particular building before, then we're seeing some fantastic success. And we get to also reflect on how well those service leavers embed into the company and what they bring more widely. They're some of our most thriving leaders, some of our greatest advocates for consulting into the clients. And yes, we do a majority of our work into defence. So if you speak the right language and you have the right background, and undoubtedly, Bob and Janice from who are in the next office, and we were serving together in blah, blah, blah. But as a consultant, you have to get on with the customer.
Yeah.
And we see that if you've got a shared ethos, if you've got a shared delivery belief, that is a great start.
And I think, that sort of last point there is so, so true now more than ever, with, the way that the market has been generally. There's so much more competition out there, and, the businesses that are now thriving are the ones that put the customer first, and are the ones that operate with that user-centric approach, particularly within, the defense and government arenas. And, who's going to be more user-centric than someone that's been the user? And I think that's, the value that having someone who has been there, done that on the other side of the fence is so strong. And you guys are obviously a great example of, putting that into practice and showing, if you provide that opportunity for these people, the skills they bring and, what they can offer you as a business is, far beyond probably what you would get from an equivalent person who hadn't spent that time in a lot of cases. And I think
definitely, I mean, we're not advocating that all veterans must stay within the defence sector. There are a world of opportunities out there, and everything we've talked about in marketing yourself goes for moving outside of defence as to staying in defence. Obviously, entirely selfishly, for us to continue being more successful, we love having people that understand the customer, and as you said, understand the user journey, and also get that the nation cannot deliver national security if industry and the Crown don't work together collaboratively. It's not an us and them. Industry don't exist just to spend taxpayers' money. They exist to defend the nation and defend the soldiers, sailors, and air men and women that are out furthering the UK's objectives. They have skills that uniformed or civil service don't have. They have the ability to do things at scale that uniformed and civil service don't have. So being able to bring people in that understand that relationship and really want to go and do the absolute best job possible to go and strengthen the UK and defend our interests is absolutely a key to success.
And I think as well, it's some of the biggest challenges that you face, as an industry trying to support and supply into and work with, work with government, work with defence, work with Crown. Some of the biggest challenges are around, process, around, the bureaucracy of it all. There's a lot of challenges that come with the timeframes for all of that sort of stuff, and actually, sometimes that is really overwhelming for someone that doesn't understand that world. Sometimes that's one of the biggest barriers to entry for people that come from outside of, a defence background coming into defence, is they just really struggle to get their head around why everything takes so long. And people that have been inside those sorts of operations understand what goes on behind those doors and actually understands why what to someone on the outside looking in seems like a really straightforward, simple yes no decision isn't that straightforward. So there's obviously so much value that can be brought from people like that. From your perspective, in terms of, I know this is $1 million question, but kind of key advice that you would give to anyone that was, either had just left or was thinking of leaving or is leaving the military.
So I think that the absolute key thing is try not to look at your career outside of the military as an extension of your career management in the military. I think that there's a lot of uncertainty and stress and pressure with somebody firing off CVs in the same way that they would go and request a posting from their desk officer or their career manager. Face-to-face comms beats applying to jobs all day long. And there are a number of events, either through the employment recognition scheme or through like security cleared or other aspects of career fairs, where you get to go and meet people and talk to them and follow that up. I just think that there's a key bit of advice is to try and speak to somebody and then go speak to them again and try and remove the faceless application process and try and chat to somebody, because undoubtedly you will talk about your strengths. Undoubtedly you'll talk about why you'd be fantastic for a particular role, rather than trying to cram that into a CV. You should going out for generic jobs. And there's loads of opportunities to go and engage with hiring teams, with leadership, with industry. And also the second bit is the first place you land will very rarely be your job for life. Just as you've built a career in the military of moving around quite often and being put into new situations, that doesn't have to stop because you're in private sector, and getting into somewhere gives you more knowledge about the private sector than you'll ever see from inside looking in. So I would say it's fantastic if you leave the military, you join a company and you stay there for another 15 years, promote through the company and end up on the board. That is a brilliant outcome if it's what you want. But also, as soon as you're in industry, you'll be talking to other industry. And the first thing you land may not be your dream job, but you'll certainly be able to go and identify what is a better fit, and maybe go and springboard from a job in industry into something which is significantly better and a better fit for you.
And I do think, as someone who obviously speaks to a lot of individuals every day about, their jobs, whether they're veterans or not, and the various challenges that we're seeing in the current market. And, unfortunately at the moment, there's a lot of negative connotations around the job market, from experiences of people that people are having. I do, think, putting a positive twist on things, I do think that I guess sort of, we're obviously speaking about veterans and military, but more generally in terms of getting that variety in the workplace and having that offer other people's opinions and people coming from different backgrounds. I do think there's a really good driver on that at the moment, which I think is going to be really beneficial. And coming back to the veterans thing, I do think that what businesses are now starting to do is really going to make a big difference. But I think it's just about that, like you were kind of alluding to with with your bronze award and then going silver and gold, it's that shifted mentality of tick box and doing things so you do it and you get your badge and your company looks great, to actually, getting your silver and your gold and actually actively going and doing these things that will actually make a difference. Because ultimately that's the key part. Anyone can say, oh, we have this, but actually, do you do it?
Undoubtedly, we are passionate that there is a benefit to our company of participating in that scheme. That then goes hand in hand with our personal belief that the veteran skills of veterans bring to companies is outstanding and often is a great fit for us. So I get that businesses have to have both of those drivers to go and invest in something. We work in defense industry, therefore it's absolutely clear. But what's happening across industry is people are spending more time speaking to veterans, looking past a CV which says I did this job here, and then I went to this job here, and then I went to this job here, and understanding what makes them tick. And there is obviously a range of talent in the military. However, they have first of all been selected through a pretty rigorous selection process. They've then had the most amount of leadership training any organization ever applies to its employees, both in the non-commissioned ranks and in the commissioned ranks. And at the end of that, you get a fantastic individual who is really capable and able to go and solve problems, which as a leader, that's all I ask in our employees. Be as useful as possible, go and be nice to the customers and go and solve their most difficult problems. And you have this pool of talent, which is not untapped, but maybe people don't realize just how special veterans can be.
And I think it's a great point as well. If people say you spend, X amount of percentage of your life at work, when you're serving, you're spending pretty much all your life with the people you work with. So, those people that are managing and working with their peers are going to be good at working with their peers because they're spending so much time with them. And actually, if you can then, like you say, get them in to come and manage a team, that their approach to management is going to be, I would do anything for this team and to help my team, because that's how it works in the military, right? Your family when you're serving, and that's how it works. So it's a really great point. And I think, is there, from your perspective, as a kind of key point then on the other side of things, what would you say is the industry needs to do more of, or what would you say is your sort of key bit of advice to other people that are saying, we want to help veterans, what can we do, how can we do it?
I think if there's an organization saying, I'm sold, what you said sounds great, how do I tap into this pool of talent? I think it's being present. I think the more opportunity companies have to speak to people thinking about leaving the military, that's great. And also the more opportunity that is visible from the other side is fantastic as well. So there are a number of events that companies can do to go and engage. Obviously, I'd be passionate to say, if you've got a social values commitment in your company, why not think about pointing those efforts at the veteran community? Even if you're not specifically into defense industry, what that means is you will be able to go and meet talented individuals that are coming out of the military. And there's a large outturn every single year. There's lots of talent coming out. And if you're in any way engaged with government and you want to progress your social value commitments, then it's a fantastic thing that resonates across all departments, not just defence. So if you're working to central government and you're showing your social value commitments to the defence sector, then I think that goes a long way to making sure. And if you're working to government, you have to do it anyway. And you might really solve a recruitment headache that you have further down the line.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to end on. Is we've obviously spoken a lot about defense industry naturally, but ultimately, as you said a few times, that people, just because they've come from the military, doesn't mean they can only go into supplying or working in defense on an industry side of things, right? And actually, a lot of the time, people want that complete change because sometimes that's the best way for them to have the transition out of military, is to go and do something.
Totally agree, and everything I've said still stands. You just have to be more careful how you speak to people, how you tailor your CV, the covering letter which you write, which, by the way, is another golden tip. Get a covering letter in. you have to go through that with a fine tooth comb and take out all of the military jargon, because if I read it, I'll understand what the TLAs are, and I'll understand what this particular unit's job was in Herrick. If you send that into the charity sector or someone else, it's unlikely to land that well. So everything I've said still stands. You just have to be more careful about translating your talent and your skills into what is basically like city speak.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, that's it. It's just getting articulating yourself in the way to the person you're speaking to is going to understand. And that's obviously true in all walks of life, right? You want to speak a language that your audience understands. But yeah, no, that was really, really useful. And hopefully it will come as a quite kind of useful bit of information, advice for people, regardless of where they're at on their journey, whether it be people that are hiring, looking to hire, want to do more to help, or people that are actually going through or about to go through the journey themselves. And yeah, obviously, it's a great starting point if anyone's looking at a career in that, defense world, particularly in the cyberspace. They know where Logiq are now.
Well, obviously, Logiq being a market leader and given our commitment to supporting veterans and our understanding of the talent that's there, yeah, we're more than happy to speak to people.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, massively appreciate you taking some time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Still, thanks.
Thank you.